just keep spiraling out of control in Golden State. And what's happening behind the scenes right now could seriously impact the franchise's future. Draymond Green, never one to stay quiet, has stepped up and publicly questioned head coach Steve Kerr over some very pointed comments Kerr made about Jonathan Kuminga. And when I say this is getting messy, I mean it. This isn't just about a disagreement between player and coach. This could change how the rest of the NBA sees Kuminga, and not in a good way. Because now new reports are coming out that say all this public drama is tanking Kuminga's trade value. And if that's true, the Warriors may have just sabotaged themselves during the most critical offseason in years. Let's rewind a bit so you'll understand what's going on. A few days ago, Steve Kerr gave an interview where he was asked about Jonathan Kuminga's role moving forward. Instead of dodging the question or offering the usual coach speak, Kerr said something that set the internet on fire. He basically said he can't win with Kuminga in the current roster. That's right. Not we're developing him, not he has potential, but a straight up admission that Kuminga, in Kerr's eyes, isn't part of a winning formula right now. Kerr said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that while Kuminga is obviously talented and wants a bigger role, the current roster just doesn't allow for that. He said he's been tasked with winning, and that when he tries to put together lineups with Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, and Kuminga playing big minutes, it just doesn't result in wins. He can't commit to 38 minutes a night for Kuminga. Period. That's brutal. And it didn't take long for fans, analysts, and players to start reacting. Because let's be honest, that's a harsh thing to say about one of your top young talents, especially when you're probably looking to move him in a trade. Enter Draymond Green, who true to form didn't hold back. On his podcast, he addressed the situation head on and gave his own take on Kerr's comments. Draymond pointed out that Kerr's statement was specifically about the current roster. He didn't say Kuminga couldn't be a valuable player anywhere else, or even that he couldn't eventually become that for the Warriors. What he said, according to Draymond, is that with this roster, it doesn't work. And that's a really important distinction. Draymond went on to say that he doesn't necessarily agree with Kerr, and honestly, he made a good point. He said we haven't really seen Kuminga, Steph, and Jimmy on the floor together for extended minutes. There's no substantial sample size, so how can anyone really say definitively that it doesn't work? Draymond's take is that we should be cautious about dismissing something we haven't truly tested. And he's right. It's a fair criticism. Dig through the numbers and try to find solid data on the Steph, Jimmy, Kuminga trio playing real minutes together, and you'll come up short. According to available data, Kuminga and Steph did rank 9th in the Warriors' top two-man lineups with a modest plus 7.6 rating. But even then, it wasn't much. The reality is, we just haven't seen enough of that trio to say with confidence that it can't work. And let's not forget the context. When Jimmy arrived at the trade deadline, Kuminga was dealing with injuries. By the time he was healthy, the Warriors were already gaining momentum. The rotations were tight, the chemistry was building, and Kerr, always someone who prefers continuity, didn't want to disrupt what was working. But the excuse from the coaching staff over and over again was that Kuminga doesn't fit next to Jimmy, that the two are too similar, both ball dominant, both players who need the rock to be effective. And if that's a problem in Kerr's motion-heavy offense, maybe there's some truth to that. But here's the issue. Even if that's the case, why make it public? That's where things go off the rails. Because this isn't just a philosophical difference anymore. Now it's affecting how other teams perceive Kuminga's value. You can already see the ripple effect starting. According to league insiders, front offices are reading Kerr's comments as a red flag. They're looking at this situation and thinking, if Golden State doesn't even want this guy, why should we give up serious assets to get him? And you know what? That logic is completely understandable. In the NBA, perception matters. And right now, the perception is that the Warriors are trying to offload a player they no longer believe in. And that's a terrible position to be in if you're trying to build leverage for a trade. This is the offseason, the time when teams are supposed to play their cards close to the chest, boost their assets, create hype. The Warriors instead are doing the opposite. They're airing their doubts out loud and giving other teams every reason to lowball them. Kerr's comments weren't just ill-timed, they were destructive. Because now when the Warriors call up other teams to talk about a potential sign and trade involving Kuminga, those teams are going to come in offering pennies on the dollar. That's not speculation. That's what's already happening. There are reports floating around that some teams are now looking at the situation and thinking this is their opportunity to steal Kuminga for cheap. There's even a rumor that the Sacramento Kings are trying to piece together a deal involving DeMar DeRozan. And let's be real here, if the Warriors trade Jonathan Kuminga for DeRozan, that would be one of the worst deals they've made in years. That's not the return you want for one of the most promising young athletes to come through your system in a long time. It's just not. Now, if you're telling me the Kings are offering Domantas Sabonis, that's a whole different conversation. But DeRozan, no way. There's also growing noise about the Brooklyn Nets being a prime landing spot for Kuminga. And from a logistics standpoint, it actually makes a lot of sense. The Nets have cap space, flexibility, and they're in a place where they can absorb a guy like Kuminga without needing a perfect salary match. They could try to make a sign and trade work, or even hit him with an aggressive offer sheet. The Warriors, of course, can match anything since Kuminga is a restricted free agent. But here's the problem. The more Kerr and now Draymond keep talking, the harder it becomes to make that kind of trade work. Because they're not just creating drama, they're also destroying the perception of value that Golden State needs to maintain if they want a meaningful return. And let me hit you with some of the math here, just so you understand how tricky this gets. In a sign and trade scenario, Kuminga could agree to a deal worth, say, $25 million per year. But under NBA trade rules, the Warriors would only be allowed to count half of that amount, $12.5 million, in outgoing salary. That severely limits who they can trade with unless the other team is under the cap or has a trade exception. So even under the best conditions, Golden State's options are narrow. But now, add in the fact that the entire league knows they are eager to move Kuminga, and the return gets even slimmer. What the Warriors should be doing right now is hyping Kuminga to the moon. They should be pointing to that explosive series he had against Minnesota, where he dropped 30 points in one game and 24 in an elimination game. They should be reminding everyone of his athleticism, his upside, the flashes of brilliance we've all seen. They should be doing everything in their power to make teams believe he's the missing piece for their own roster, not telling the world that he doesn't fit. And yes, Mike Dunleavy Jr. tried to do a bit of damage control. In his exit interview, the Warriors GM said the team still wanted Kuminga back and that they hoped to re-sign him. But come on, nobody's buying that. Everyone knows that statement was made purely to regain some leverage. And frankly, it might be too little too late. This is where I get really frustrated. Because whatever you think of Kuminga, whether you believe he's a future star or just a good role player, the worst thing you can do is destroy his trade value right before trying to move him. That's just bad management. And it's not like this is a surprise. Everyone knows the rules of engagement in this league. You protect your assets. You don't go on the record and trash a guy you're trying to trade. That's just common sense. But here we are. Steve Kerr couldn't help himself. Draymond felt compelled to respond. And now the Warriors are stuck. They've painted themselves into a corner. And it's hard to see a clean way out. If they trade Kuminga now, they'll get less than what he's worth. If they keep him, they're keeping a player who clearly doesn't feel wanted or valued. And if they try to fake it until the trade deadline, his role and mood could make things even worse. So please, for the sake of this franchise, someone tell Steve and Draymond to stop talking. No more podcast episodes. No more interviews. No more subtle jabs. Just silence. Let the front office do its job. Let the negotiations happen behind closed doors. Because the championship window is closing fast, next season might be the last real shot with this core. And if the Warriors want to add that final piece, they can't afford to fumble the only trade chip they have left. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Whispers are swirling through the NBA world as unsettling news emerges about the Golden State Warriors star guard Stephen Curry. Rumors suggest that Curry might be sidelined for an extended period due to an injury, sparking a wave of speculation and concern among fans, analysts, and the broader basketball community. While no official confirmation has been made by the Warriors organization, insiders hint that the injury could potentially impact the team's trajectory in the ongoing season. Stephen Curry, known for revolutionizing the game with his unparalleled Shooting and leadership has been the cornerstone of the Warriors' success over the last decade. His absence on the court would inevitably create a significant void in Golden State's lineup, raising questions about how the team will adapt without their offensive catalyst. The nature of the injury remains unclear, with some reports pointing toward a muscle strain or a lingering issue that may require careful management and rest. This development, if confirmed, could dramatically alter the Warriors' playoff prospects. Curry's ability to score from virtually anywhere on the floor and his knack for clutch performances have often turned the tide in critical moments. Without him, the burden may fall heavily on other key players like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green to step up and fill the scoring and leadership gaps. However, questions arise as to whether the supporting cast can consistently compensate for Curry's absence against top-tier competition. Speculation is also growing around the Warriors' medical and coaching staff, with discussions about their approach to managing player health and preventing further injuries. The team's strategy moving forward could involve cautious load management to ensure Curry's long-term availability, potentially affecting their immediate competitive edge. Fans are anxiously waiting for any official updates, hoping for a swift recovery, but bracing for the possibility that the team might have to navigate a challenging stretch without their superstar. The broader NBA community is watching closely, aware that the Warriors' struggles without Curry could open the door for rival teams to gain momentum. This rumor has ignited debates on social media and sports talk shows, with analysts pondering how Golden State's style of play will evolve and which players will emerge as unexpected heroes in Curry's absence. Could this be an opportunity for young talents to rise, or will it expose cracks in the Warriors' roster depth? As the story unfolds, one thing is clear: the potential injury to Stephen Curry is a game changer. Whether this is just a temporary setback or the beginning of a more prolonged challenge remains to be seen. The Warriors fans and the basketball world at large are holding their breath, waiting for the next move in this developing saga that could reshape the NBA landscape this season. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.